What if I told you that the prayer you whispered last night might have just slammed the gates of heaven shut? What if your most heartfelt plea actually pushed God further away from you? Right now, as you watch this, millions of people are praying. But here's the shocking truth that most churches won't tell you. Some prayers don't just go unanswered. They create a wall between you and the Almighty. They turn His face away from you. And the worst part, you might be praying these dangerous prayers every single day without even knowing it. Look around you. Do you see the chaos in the world? The natural disasters, the moral decay, the personal crisis hitting families everywhere. What if these aren't random events? And what if they're signs that God's patience is wearing thin with prayers that offend Him? Tonight, I'm going to expose the 7 prayers that are blocking heaven's gates. Prayers that make Jesus turn away in disappointment. Prayers that cause the warning triangle to flash red in the spiritual realm. But first, let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt God's presence during prayer? When did you last receive a clear answer? If it's been weeks, months, or even years, you might already be praying one of these 7 deadly prayers. The first deadly prayer, the selfish demand. Picture this. You bow your head and immediately start listing what you want. A better job, more money, a perfect relationship. You treat God like a cosmic vending machine. Insert prayer, expect miracle. But listen carefully to what Jesus said, and when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Matthew 6. This isn't just about praying in public. It's about praying with the wrong heart. When your prayers center entirely on your wants, your needs, your comfort, you've turned prayer into spiritual selfishness. God hears these prayers, but His response isn't what you expect. Instead of blessing, you receive silence. Instead of favor, you get frustration. Share this warning with someone who needs to hear it right now. The second deadly prayer, the vengeful plea. Have you ever prayed for someone to get what they deserve? Have you asked God to punish your enemies, to make them suffer like they made you suffer? This prayer feels justified. It feels righteous. But it's actually one of the most dangerous prayers you can pray. Jesus was crystal clear about this, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Matthew 5:44. When you pray for revenge, you're asking God to violate His own commandment. And you're requesting Him to act against His nature of love and forgiveness. These prayers don't just go unanswered. They create distance between you and God's heart. The warning triangle flashes because God sees your heart hardening. He sees bitterness taking root where love should grow. And He knows that if He answered these prayers, He would be feeding your darkness instead of your light. The third deadly prayer, the faithless repetition. How many times have you prayed the same prayer over and over with no faith that anything will change? You go through the motions. You recite the words. But deep inside, you don't really believe God will answer. You pray because you're supposed to, not because you expect miracles. James warned us about this, but when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. James 1:6. Faithless prayers are like trying to call someone on a phone with no signal. The words go nowhere because there's no spiritual connection carrying them. Comment below your biggest concern about your prayer life right now. God doesn't just want your words. He wants your faith. He wants your expectation. When you pray without believing, you're essentially telling God that you don't trust His power or His love for you. Why would He answer prayers that doubt His very nature? The fourth deadly prayer, the unrepentant request. This might be the most dangerous prayer of all. And you come to God asking for blessings while your life is full of unconfessed sin. You want His favor while living in rebellion against His will. You pray for prosperity while your heart harbors pride, lust, greed, or hatred. King David understood this principle. If I had cherished sin in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. Psalm 66:18. Unrepentant prayers create a barrier between you and heaven. Your sin doesn't make God love you less, but it does make your prayers ineffective. The warning triangle flashes because God sees the contradiction. How can He bless a life that's actively working against His purposes? How can He answer prayers from a heart that refuses to surrender to His will? The fifth deadly prayer, the comparing complaint. God, why did you bless them and not me? Why do bad people prosper while I struggle? Why does everyone else seem to have it easier? These prayers reveal a heart that questions God's justice and fairness. They show a spirit that's more focused on what others have than on gratitude for what God has already provided. The psalmist faced this same temptation, but as for me, my feet had almost slipped. I had nearly lost my foothold. For I envied the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Psalm 73:2-3. But he found his answer when he entered God's sanctuary and understood their final destiny. And when you pray with comparison and complaint, you're essentially telling God that He's doing His job wrong. You're questioning His wisdom, His timing, and His love for you. These prayers push you away from gratitude and trust, the very foundations of effective prayer. The sixth deadly prayer, the conditional bargain. God, if you do this for me, I'll do that for you. Have you ever prayed a prayer like this? And have you tried to make deals with the Almighty? This prayer treats God like a business partner instead of the sovereign Lord of the universe. And true faith doesn't negotiate with God. It surrenders to Him. And Jesus modeled this in the Garden of Gethsemane. My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will. Matthew 26:39. Conditional prayers reveal a heart that wants to stay in control. And they show a spirit that's willing to serve God only if He serves your agenda first. But God doesn't make deals. He makes covenants based on His love and our surrender. Subscribe now for the next revelation that could change your prayer life forever. The seventh deadly prayer, the performance show. These are prayers designed to impress others or even yourself. Long, eloquent speeches filled with religious language but empty of genuine heart. Prayers that sound spiritual but lack authentic connection with God. And Jesus warned against this exact thing. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words. Matthew 6:7. God isn't impressed by your vocabulary or your theological knowledge. He's moved by genuine, humble hearts seeking His face. Performance prayers focus more on how you sound than on honest communication with your Heavenly Father. They're about appearing righteous rather than becoming righteous. And God sees right through them. And now here's what's happening in the spiritual realm while these prayers are being prayed. The warning triangle isn't just a symbol. It's a reality. Every time one of these 7 prayers rises from earth, heaven responds with concern, not blessing. But why would a loving God turn away from any prayer? Because God loves you too much to enable your spiritual destruction. And He loves you too much to answer prayers that would ultimately harm your soul. He loves you too much to reward attitudes and actions that separate you from His heart. The signs of God's displeasure aren't always dramatic. Sometimes they're subtle. Closed doors where you expected opportunities. Silence where you expected answers. Frustration where you expected peace. Confusion where you expected clarity. Look at your life right now. Are you experiencing any of these signs? And have your prayers felt more like talking to the ceiling than conversing with heaven? And have you noticed a distance between you and God that wasn't there before? And here's what most people don't understand about heaven and hell. They're not just future destinations. They're present realities that begin to manifest in your prayer life right now. When your prayers align with God's heart, you experience a taste of heaven. Peace, joy, answered prayers, His presence. When your prayers oppose His will, you experience separation. Silence, confusion, spiritual dryness. The most terrifying truth is this. If you continue praying these 7 deadly prayers, you're not just missing out on blessings today. You're training your heart to live separated from God. You're practicing for an eternity without His presence. But here's the hope. Recognizing these prayers is the first step to freedom. And admitting that your prayer life needs transformation is the beginning of breakthrough. God's heart isn't hardened against you. His love hasn't changed. His desire to answer your prayers is still burning. Let me ask you to do something right now. Think about your recent prayers. How many of them fall into these 7 categories? B. Your eternity might depend on this moment of truth. The selfish demands, the vengeful pleas, the faithless repetitions, the unrepentant requests, the comparing complaints, the conditional bargains, the performance shows. And which ones have you been praying? And draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. James 4:8. This verse holds the key to everything. And God is waiting for you to draw near with a clean heart, pure motives, and genuine faith. The warning triangle is flashing, but it's not flashing judgment. It's flashing mercy. It's God's way of getting your attention before it's too late. And it's His love interrupting your destructive prayer patterns before they destroy your relationship with Him forever. Right now, heaven is watching your response to this message. The angels are witnessing whether you'll continue in these deadly prayer patterns or whether you'll choose transformation. Your next prayer could be the turning point of your spiritual life. But I'm not going to leave you hanging. And I'm not going to expose the problem without providing the solution. Because there is one prayer that God never ignores. There's one way to pray that always gets His attention, always opens heaven's gates, always results in breakthrough. Now comment right now and tell me which of these 7 prayers you've been praying most often. In the next video, I'm going to reveal one prayer that changed everything for millions of believers throughout history. The one prayer that Jesus Himself taught us to pray. The one prayer that breaks through every barrier and opens every door in heaven. And this prayer is so powerful that demons flee when they hear it. So effective that angels stand at attention when it's spoken. So precious to God that He drops everything to listen. But here's the catch. This prayer requires something from you that most people aren't willing to give. It demands a surrender that many believers avoid. It calls for a humility that goes against everything our culture teaches. Are you ready for that level of commitment? Are you willing to pray the prayer that will transform not just your prayer life, but your entire relationship with God? The warning triangle is still flashing, but now it's flashing invitation. God is calling you higher. He's calling you deeper. He's calling you into a prayer life that connects earth to heaven and brings His kingdom into your everyday reality. Don't let another day pass praying prayers that push you away from God's heart. Don't waste another moment with words that fall to the ground instead of rising to heaven. Your time is precious. Your eternity is at stake. Your relationship with God is too important to leave to chance. Tomorrow might be too late. Tonight might be your last opportunity to get this right. The gates of heaven are waiting for your transformed prayers. The heart of God is longing for genuine connection with you. Share this warning with everyone you care about. Subscribe for the prayer that changes everything. And get ready to discover what happens when you finally pray the way God has been waiting to hear. The warning triangle is about to turn green. But only for those who are willing to pray with a completely transformed heart.
You edit.